JuRY.com. Hello, and welcome, everybody, to this edition of the Justin Robert Young Daily Program. We are back live! Yes, we're back live. We're back on video. We're back on YouTube. We are doing everything we usually do right here for you. Folks, I am so excited to be back. I've got tales upon tales to tell you. But we begin here. I went on a hell of a journey. This is going to be like one of those old school JuRY episodes where it's mostly just going to be a long story, and then we might have some emails at the end. I'm kicking the news off the show. The only news that matters is the news that I'm telling you right now. So, I was out in Central New York this week, Syracuse to be exact. I was at the oft-referenced SI Newhouse School of Public Communications, and I was a guest of Dio-Palooza. That is a yearly tradition that the Daily Orange holds, wherein alumni from all around the country, nay, the world, gather to talk to the current staff and reconnect, and it's a fun time. But before we get there, let me bring you into a bad decision I made, all right? And believe you me, this is a bad decision. Friends, back when I was, well, here, where did we start? See, now this is going to be a thing that we're going to do. So look at this. YouTube, hi. Welcome. But one of the things that I do want to be able to do is I know that the show was just a lot crisper when I was able to go back when I had like found myself flailing a little bit. So this is an example of how I'm going to just make sure that the show itself can be pretty dope. And at this point, you know, you guys can hit me up with any kind of, feedback or thoughts or ideas, because I do want this to be a collaborative experience. And this is where I want some of the interaction to come from. All right, let's put that there. Justin Robert Young Program brought to you as always by everybody who supports us at payjurydaily.com. Again, payjurydaily.com. Wow, that music bed can definitely come up a little bit, huh? Hello, and welcome everybody to. That could go a little further back. Hello, and welcome everybody to this edition of the Justin Robert Young Daily Program. We are back live. Yes. There we go. Back when I was bad decision. So we're going to start right from there about the bad decision I made on the way out. I know this. Here's something that I know. I know for a fact. I have tested. It is empirically true in my life. Don't fly west to east on a red eye. it's never, ever, ever a good idea. In fact, it is very often the worst idea. Here's the reason why it's a bad idea. When you're flying from west to east, you are essentially going against the time zone change. When you go from east to west, you are gaining time. So oftentimes you take off at 3 and you land at 4. And effectively all that time in the air was made up in the time change. But you're going the opposite way when you are heading toward the meat of America's population center. And so you're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't. If you get a direct flight from wherever you're going on the West Coast to the East Coast, then it's actually worse because you have a 5-hour flight. And so let's say, theoretically, you are the best at sleeping on planes. No one has ever been better at sleeping on planes than you. Then that means you are getting 5 hours of sleep by the time that you lay your head upon the headrest to when you land. In general, I have found it is never enough. It is always too short of a time that you are sleeping. So I figured I'm going to use a nice little trick. I'm going to have a connection. So I'm going to sleep on the plane to Chicago, 3 hours and change. And then I'm going to sleep in the United Club, about 2 hours. And then I'm going to sleep on my flight to Syracuse. So I arrive in Syracuse at 11 a.m. And let me tell you how amazing I felt. Just kidding. I felt like a pile of horse shit, and there was no way for me to make myself feel better because I know. Oh, God. But here's the other thing. The reason why I wind up taking these red-eye flights is because you then realize, okay, well, if I got on a flight from at 6 a.m. from San Francisco, nothing goes direct to Syracuse, so I'm going to have to connect anyway. If I connect through Chicago, by the time that I wind up getting to Syracuse, it's like 7 o'clock at night anyway. Ugh. So I get to SFO for my red-eye flight. And immediately on my app that I had not checked into my flight yet, I am greeted with an option to take money to switch to an earlier flight the next day. So I could definitely have just gotten paid to fly out at 7 o'clock in the morning, but I'm like, no, you want to know what? I'm here. And then there's this pesky thing that keeps happening. In fact, I first noticed it when I was in Texas, and Brian and I wound up last minute flying to Dallas to be on Andrew Heaton's show. Now, for whatever reason, my known passenger ID was not working. You know, and I didn't pay him much mind. I was switching to a Southwest flight, and maybe it was some weird thing with that. No. All right, so my known passenger ID, for whatever reason, isn't working. But this is something different. This is me flying United out of SFO. There should be no reason why my known passenger ID isn't working. If you're unfamiliar, a known passenger ID is what you get when you sign up for Global Entry. Global Entry effectively is a program that is run by the American government wherein you say, I am going to use these flights, right? And you are able, let's see, here we go. All right, stop it. I did not say that correctly. We're going to go back. Going to use these flights a known passenger ID is what you get when you sign up for Global Entry. Global Entry is a program wherein you agree that the government is able to look into all of your flight records and you submit to an interview with them for the benefit of being able to always get TSA pre no matter what. And when you're coming back internationally, you are able to not go through customs. You literally just go to a machine and you scan your hand and they take a picture. You swear up and down that you're not doing nothing illegal and you'll walk right through. Stephanie Ray CA in our chat room asked if it's like Nexus. I believe that that's the Canadian equivalent. Yes. So, I have chills run down my spine as I realize something horrible. And that is this. Global entry lasts for 5 years. And when I started to think back to when I got global entry, it may or may not have been 5 years ago. Not only has my global entry expired, however, I also have an international trip coming up. I'm going to Italy in like a month. No! The last time that I got global entry, it took 3 months for me to schedule an interview. I am frantically on my phone trying to schedule literally anything. I'm looking into it. I'm researching. I'm trying to figure out how I can expedite this process as fast as possible. Now, technically, I really just need TSA pre to get out of the country. If I can get my interview, I literally just need the global entry thing to come through before I come back. Because that's the real benefit, is coming back into America, skipping that gigantic line. So put that on the back burner. That'll be an ongoing adventure. Get on this flight. Get to Syracuse. I arrive at like 11. I feel like ass. I go meet the staff of the current Daily Orange because I'm going to throw my bags in the office, and then I'm going to go record the PX3 show. We're going to pause there. So JuRY's staying in the EU for 2 months. Effectively, yes. Man, all right. Let me ask you guys a question. I've got basically 4 stories here. I can keep going with these stories, or I can break them up to be the beginning of the JuRY Daily show for the next 3 days, or I guess the next 2 days. Actually, no, you want to know what? I could just talk about meeting with the kids at the DO, and then talk about what a shitbag the Syracuse University is, and then tell the funny story of how I got back. Oh, you want? Yeah, you want to know what? Let's just go full bore here. With all the stories. We'll just do all the stories. All right, here we go. The PX3 show. PX3 Extra. See, this is good. This is good. I like this. I like actually having the ability to hit you guys up for these kind of things. There we go. Three. to America, skipping that gigantic line. So put that on the back burner. That'll be an all right. See, and this is another thing that I can do is I can just actually, since I'm doing this, tighten up these spaces here, which is something else that I really like doing when I was doing it offline. Tick line. So put that on the back burner. That'll be an ongoing adventure. Get on this flight. Get to Syracuse. I arrive at like 11. I feel like ass. I go meet the staff of the current Daily Orange because I'm going to throw my bags in the office, and then I'm going to go record the PX3. Here we go. Extra. Which goes great. You know, I'm sitting there. I'm on the Shaw Quadrangle. I am enjoying the breeze. It's actually a nice day in Syracuse, which is rare. A bunch of kids are out there throwing frisbees. The tents are up because graduation's coming. Everyone's in a really, really, really good mood. Let me talk a little bit about the staff of the Daily Orange, because if you've only heard me mention my experiences there, then you will understand that it was a formative moment in my life. It was a lot of fun. It set me up for success in a lot of ways, but I cannot underscore enough that it is a not-for-profit corporation that is run by 18 to 22-year-olds. And with that, when you have a bunch of ambitious kids, the organization tends to change a lot, you know? They tend to reflect who's ever there, reflect the kind of personalities that are really just kind of forming as they get to college. And so some of them you connect with and some of them you don't. Some of them remind you of yourself. Some of them remind you of other people that maybe you didn't connect with as much. And I will say this now, that many times that I've gone back, the staffs have not exactly clicked with me. I've found going back to Syracuse to be, well, for lack of a better term, a bit of a nostalgia wank. See, this is a good thing. Stephanie Ray, I may have missed it. Is the Daily Orange a paper? See, this is a great thing. Now I'm going to go back and re-explain exactly what the Daily Orange is. Then you will understand that it was a formative moment in my life. All right. Let me talk a little bit about the staff of the Daily Orange, because if you've only heard me mention my experiences there, then you will understand that it was a formative moment in my life. It was a lot of fun. It set me up for success in a lot of ways, but I cannot underscore enough that it is a not-for-profit corporation that is run by 18 to 22-year-olds. The Daily Orange is also a fully independent paper from Syracuse University. It gets $0 from the university. In fact, the only connection it has with the university is that the house that it is run out of since I was born in 1983 is leased to them by the university. Now, that's going to come back in a second. Gambling Man, yeah, you know, now that I'm actually like, I wasn't planning on running this like this, but I can let me try to set that up for tomorrow, actually, just because I want to keep on track recording here. That is run by 18 to 22-year-olds. The Daily Orange is also a fully independent paper from Syracuse University. It gets $0 from the university. In fact, the only connection it has with the university is that the house that it is run out of since I was born in 1983 is leased to them by the university. Now, that's going to come back in a second. And with that, when you have a bunch of ambitious kids, the organization All right. Let me see if I can. All right. Here we go. Nostalgia wank. And I mean that in the best ways, but it was a little bit relive your youth. And like I'm into that to a certain extent, but I don't know. It wasn't exactly refilling. It was about going back to a time and remembering it as opposed to looking forward, or I felt even substantially kind of helping the current staff. We were just sort of interlopers there to remember the time that was. But that was not the case this time. I want to give a shout out in case they are listening to, and I have my notes here just so I don't forget anybody. But Ashwarya, Bridget, Kennedy, Talia, and Maeve, they were fantastic. We hung out with them late into Friday and Saturday night. They had their shit together. Specifically, one of them, Kennedy, who is the current news editor, outgoing news editor, she looked like a younger version of the news editor that I had way back in the day, who was also there, but yelled loudly and was acerbically funny in a way that reminded people of me. So we kind of made a joke that she was our like Daily Orange offspring so many years later. But what most impressed me about them is that they are about to face a gigantic issue. Because if you listen very, very closely in the Northeastern Corridor, specifically in New York State, reverberating off the Finger Lakes, rattling off the water molecules of Lake Onondaga, you will hear a very low rumbling sound that I will now do an impression for you. That, my friends, is the vacuous greed hole that exists within the Syracuse University system. Now, like many colleges, it is not the only vacuous greed hole. I can say that better. System. Greed hole that exists within the Syracuse University system. This greed hole will not be satiated. No. For every little morsel that is thrown within it, it will demand more. And so, Syracuse University is now eliminating a whole row of housing that included not only the Daily Orange, but also the LGBT Resource Center and a few other cool things, because they need to build new dorms. Yeah, new dorms. That's what they need to build, because they are moving to demanding that all students live on campus for 3 years. Used to be 2. Now it's going to be 3. Because, again, you can't throw enough money or financial freedom for their graduates into the vacuous greed hole. And so Syracuse is going to take away the Daily Orange's home, or at least the home that it's had since 1983. Now, the paper's been around for over 100 years. They've moved homes before. They'll be able to move homes again. But rare is the generation that has to actually do the moving, and the negotiations that are currently ongoing between the university and the Daily Orange are very important. Because there's a possibility that the Daily Orange could stay close to campus. They could stay close to where they are. But that will be up to decisions made by the university. I don't want to go too much further into this, but just know this, friends. That if a few things go a few ways, I will be devoting part of whatever my resources are as a mouthpiece and rabble-rouser to making life a living hell for the university. So we will see how that goes. One last fun thing. We're up late into the night on Saturday. We're having a great time with the current staff. I'm with my buddy Tito, who I worked with for most of my 4 years at the Daily Orange. And we're joking around the next day that it felt like time had collapsed. And all good hangs that have ever happened in the 100+ year history of that storied paper had now all existed in one place. Past, present, and future were all straight chilling. And I'm on a high when I wake up the next morning. A high that is very immediately diminished because I look at my phone and I see a bunch of text messages from United Airlines. As it happened, I missed my flight the next morning. For whatever reason, in the booking process, I had set myself up with a 6:40 in the morning flight out of Syracuse Airport. Oh, baby. So I get my ass to the airport. And I'm talking to the guy, and I'm like, hey, missed my flight? Anyway, I can get on another one. And the guy goes, well, when was the flight? I'm like, 6:40 in the morning. He's like, so if you show up to the airport after 2 hours from your departure time, then the only way that you're going to be able to get back is if you call and beg on the premier desk. Because I do have a little bit of status left. I got a little bit of status. So I call and I'm waiting. And as it turns out, there's a really long wait time for the premier desk. Remember that for foreshadowing. And as I'm waiting, I'm like, you want to know what? Let me just look and see how much it costs on miles to get back home right now, last minute. And it turns out that it's reasonable. It's like a 12,000-mile one-way trip to San Francisco from Syracuse, connecting through Chicago, basically the flight that I was going to beg, borrow, and steal to get on. So I'm like, I don't know how long I'm going to be on. I don't know whether or not it's going to make sense for me to argue with this person, and then maybe this flight winds up taking off after it was a pretty close turnaround. So I'm like, fuck it. That's on me. 12,000 miles. We got to burn to the wind so I can just get on this flight and I can be home on time. Cool. So I do. Get through security. Regular TSA. Because I still don't have my known passenger ID. Get on the flight. And they're like, hey, we're going to have to wait here on the runway for an hour. Ugh. Okay, fine. And then they come on and say, hey, as it turns out, it's snowing in Chicago. Oh. April? Snowing? Chicago? Yeah, it is. And then they say, we're going to have to deplane because your flight that was supposed to take off at 1:30 in the afternoon is now taking off at 5:30 in the afternoon. Fine, whatever. Looks like I'm going to miss my flight coming out of Chicago, but it's Chicago. Chicago flies to San Francisco all the time. I'll still probably be able to get back in. It just means I got to watch Game of Thrones in the United Club. I'm at the Middle Ages Airport bar when I am informed that we will not be leaving today. We will be leaving at 6:30 in the morning. Boners. So I get back on the horn with the premier desk. I wait on the line with the premier desk for an hour and 30 minutes. An hour and 30 minutes. And at that point, the gigantic line of people that were there to talk to the representatives have all cleared out, and I can just walk up and talk to the representative. I'm like, look, can you just get me on a flight out of here? I don't care where I'm going. I just need to get to a larger airport that has a shot for me to get somewhere. If I can make my way west, that's all that matters. Nope. There's one flight out of here on United. It's to Washington Dulles, which is going east and not west, and it's oversold. Like, fuck it. I'll just stay the night in Syracuse. So I get back on the horn with United. I am back on with them. I wait for another hour and a half. Oh, by the way, the guy at the gate at Syracuse was like, hey, real talk, what you probably should do right now, is just understand that you're going to be in Syracuse for another 24 hours. The best time for you to get back is Tuesday morning. No, can't do it. I'm on the phone with United. They finally get me booked on another flight, and that was my day yesterday. After another 3-hour delay coming out of Chicago back to San Francisco, I finally landed. That's the reason why there was no JuRY episode yesterday. I just couldn't put it together. And there we go. That, my friends, is an old-fashioned episode of the Justin Robert Young podcast. No emails. We'll do emails tomorrow. Yeah, no, that was definitely a grab the bindle moment. I will tell you that. So, yeah, we're just going to go right into the ending here. TV's Travis, similar thing happened back in December. Ended up having to rent a car in Chicago for almost $400. Jesus. Calm down. You guys will hear the music because I still got to fucking match everything. All right. Bring that over here. Bring that over here. I would like to thank our producers of this show, the Jen, PD Rave, Non-Specific, Rock and Roll Martian, Joe Acosta, well, James the OG Brito, well, and Chris. If you would like to email the show, it is jurydaily@gmail.com. Again, jurydaily@gmail.com. Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat @Justin R. Young. Join our Discord at bit.ly/jury discord. Folks, that about wraps it up for today. Please give a round of applause for Mr. Wacky. But more importantly, please don't die! All right, let's match all this up. to get back is Tuesday morning. No, can't do it. I'm on the phone with United. They finally get me booked on another flight, and that was my day yesterday. After another 3-hour delay coming out of Chicago back to San Francisco.
Well, that seems
A little early. Out of Chicago back to San Francisco. I finally landed. That's the reason why there was no JuRY episode yesterday. I just couldn't put it together. And there we go. That, my friends, is an old-fashioned episode.
I'll probably bring that in a little lower.
Of the Justin Robert Young podcast. No emails. We'll do emails tomorrow. I would like to thank our producers of this show, the Jen, PD Rave, Non-Specific, Rock and Roll Martian, Joe Acosta, well, James the OG Brito, well, and Chris. If you would like to email the show, it is jurydaily@gmail.com. Again, jurydaily@gmail.com. Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat @JustinRYoung. Join our Discord at bit.ly.
Thank you, Dead Man.
/JuRY Discord. Folks, that about wraps it up for today. Please give a round of applause for Mr. Wacky. But more important, please, don't.
Yeah, I don't know why that's so loud. That can come down, son.
Do you like how your hair gets cut? Do you like when your friends fuck up? Don't you think you have had enough?
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
I am using Audition. Adobe Audition.
What is this?
I know this. Here's something that
Okay.
The Justin Robert Young program brought to you as always by everybody who supports us at payjurydaily.com. Again, payjurydaily.com.
On the day that we met on.
Hello, and welcome.
All right. So we just need to remember to take out the news and emails. And we will export this bad bitch.
So yeah, I guess now is a weird moment where I don't know where to end the YouTube, because normally we would just be, please don't die, and that would be it. But YouTube, if you have not picked up on this, this will be a bit of a different video. I really do appreciate being able to, tailor this to the audience that hears it the most, and that is the podcast audience. But I still want to be doing a video thing for you guys, because I know that there's some people that only experience this through the video, and if you only experience this through the video, then that is what it is. So like and subscribe, ring that bell. But if look, if you are into me, then there's a chance that you might be into podcast editing and the process. If that's the case, then congratulations. That is something that you will now get a chance to do. So until next time, YouTube, I will